Chavez. They were young when I came here. The beautiful four daughters of Angie and Krieger. They grew up, and most of them don't live here. And they have their own children and their own lives. And it is part of this Friday Memories of Castor that I would like to invite Stan and Angie. It's okay. It'll be hard now, maybe, with the conversation now. Okay, thank you. There'll be definitely a conversation at Stan training on Tuesday to provide babysitter here. Yes. Thank you. Back to the invitation to Stan and Angie. Active, amazing, helpful individuals, both sitting on and off the board, in all kind of committees. I still try to get Stan to teach because there is a history of Stan teaching in our religious school, and Stan, maybe tonight you're finally going to say, yes, I'm going to. But it is definitely an honor for all of us to listen to your words and to your presentations. Please.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Angie. So we arrange our lives like tag team, whether it be raising children or practicing law. Louder? Okay, no problem. And so when Wendy called and asked would we be willing to do anything, well, I was a little hesitant, I'm a little shy. So she said, yeah, I don't know, we've got lots of things to talk about. And so I panicked a little bit. And I say, well, I don't know if I can talk about the place, Cass Street, things like that. So I kept coming up with stories, but they all involved people. And then it hit me. Of course it's not about people. But I make this one exception. There is a spot that's right about there, in this room, about there, where I stood twice within a 6-month period of time. One was on June 6, 1970. And I said Shema Israel the very first time as a Jew. It was a small gathering. And then back of the room there was a man there. I didn't know who he was. He wasn't, well, ours wasn't a large group, but he was there. I found out later that it was Dave Bleacher, and he was there to witness this conversion, which now is much more public, but in those days it was a private, but somewhat rare occasion. So jump ahead, and actually I should jump behind another 6 months. And I started my instruction with Manfred Kuttner, who was the cantor at the time. And through cantor, we studied all sorts of, as you would expect anyone studying Judaism would study. But he also taught me about Holocaust and the lessons that he also had learned growing and then until they arranged their children. So I've never forgotten him all these years. And so now I'm at my conversion, and somebody very important is nearby. And so 6 months later, on September 20th, the 20th, we said our vows right here in that same spot. So our stories tonight are going to relate to people, and but I would make the exception that this space is very special to me. I wish we could lift it up and put it down over there. But knowing that's not possible, cherish the memories that were made in this room and how it changed and carved me as a person. Sorry, I didn't go on so bad.
Only have 1 minute left. Maybe I'll just start out with the numbers, which she as long as we've been married. We've had 2 weddings. One, our daughter Jessica, who lives in Omaha. We have 3 other daughters who got married elsewhere. And we got married here. We've had 4 baby namings in the sanctuary, each of our kids. We've had 2 Chris's, grandkids, here. We've had, unfortunately, 4 yard sites for our parents. And we've had 5 bat mitzvahs, 4 for our kids, and Angie had her bat mitzvah. I forget what year that was.
Yeah, 1998.
So we've had a lot of stuff go on. We've both been on the boards at various times. I went through a period of, gosh, it seems like a long time, 10 years, teaching at the, I taught ninth grade high school in Temple for all those years. So we have a lot of stories, a lot of memories. It's hard to remember some of them. And when we sat down and we said, geez, it just, one thing starts to feed on another and you start remembering these things. But I'll tell a couple of short ones. And Angie's got a couple of short ones. She wants me to tell this one. I'm not crazy about telling it, but I call it the Vanagon story.
Oh, I love this story.
The kids were, I guess they were like 13, 14, and there were lots of conclaves going on during those years. I forget what year this was exactly. And we were putting up some kids from out of town in our house, girls, because we had girls. And so at the end of this, they had a final night or something. It was very formal. They all had their dresses on and stuff like that. And I was going to, and there was formal dresses, yes.
Yeah, it was like a winter time.
It was the winter, and I was going to my job was to pick the kids up at the end. So it was late. It was like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. Maybe even it was midnight because it was late. So we had a big car, which at that time was the only one available was really a Vanagon. So it seated 9 people in the back. And so I picked all the girls up. They all looked really pretty in their dresses and their formals, and they packed into my car. I drove down 72nd Street. I had to drop them off. Unfortunately, the Omaha Police decided they were going to do a radar check. And they were pulling people over, and they pulled me over. And so the officer came over to my car, and I tried to roll down the window. Well, it was frozen shut. Middle room. I couldn't roll down my window, so I started to open the door. I glanced over, and I saw him put his hand on his holster. I said, my window's frozen. So I opened the door, and he said, we clocked you going whatever miles an hour it was, and the speed limit here is 35 or whatever. And of course, there wasn't a lot of traffic at that hour. And I said, well, okay, so he said, let me see your license. So I tried to find my license. I didn't have it. I left my wallet. So I won't go into the whole story, but anyway, I said, oh, sorry, I left my wallet home. He looks in, and there are 9 young women, all in their formal dresses and everything. He looks at them, he looks at me, and he says, you can't believe the paperwork I had to do.
Okay, so let's keep staying on the center of this next story. So we had a cantor a few years back, a cantor Weber, and wonderful cantor, it's very creative. And she called one day and said, would our family be willing to participate in a special Shabbat program where she would write and songs and so forth. And it was going to be about the theme of Passover. And I says, does this include Stan? And she says, yeah, I think we can use Stan, but we'll have a non-speaking part. so the evening came, and we were proceeding through the program, and so myself and a couple of our younger daughters were up there, and there were other families too. I'm not sure, Lisa, whether you and Travis went up there. But anyway, so the story was on the Passover story, and the focus of the story was a man in the literature named Yashin. And so Stan was just kind of sitting, idly standing up there by the FEMA. He didn't have any speaking parts, and he wasn't given any much stage direction about that act or anything. And we girls had kind of had scarves and stuff that kind of gave it more of an ancient atmosphere, I guess. And anyway, so at one point, the clue was for Stan to leave the FEMA and just walk down the stairs. And so, on cue, he just left. He just walked away from us. He just did that. And so, all through the Oneg Shabbat, Stan had to explain to everybody why he left. Nobody got the notion that he was Nashon. Nashon, for those of you who don't remember, is the Hebrew who was first put his foot in the water that then subsequently parted for the passage on the Hebrews to pass through from Egypt. So Nashon left us.
One memory that I remember, this was 1984. Our daughter Stephanie, our oldest, was getting bat mitzvah. That was our first bat mitzvah. And Temple was going through, we had lost our associate rabbi who left, and Barry Weinstein. And Rabbi Brooks, Sidney Brooks, was going to Emirates. And a search had been conducted, and the congregation hired a new rabbi, Stephen Barrett. And he had just come on board, I guess. And Rabbi Brooks and Jane were going to Cincinnati. They were out of town or something, I can't remember. And so Rabbi Barrett was going to do the bat mitzvah. Now, we didn't really know him at all. I mean, he hadn't been in Omaha very long at all. And I wasn't happy about it, but nothing I could do. So we all come in for Shabbat services on Friday night. And we're waiting for the clergy to come out. And, kind of disappointed that we didn't have that closeness with the rabbi that we had with Rabbi Brooks. And the door opened for the clergy to come out, and we're sitting in the front row, and out steps Sidney Brooks. And my jaw dropped because it was totally unexpected that he would show up. And so I had this expression on my face, I guess, because he looked at me, and I could detect a slight smile on his face. And so we had Sidney do the bat mitzvah, which is important for us, our first one. I'll tell another one, then Angie can tell one. It's really hard to not remember something about Temple without remembering the tornado. Literally, Cass Street physically was a wreck after that tornado came through. Now, I wasn't physically in the building at the time, but we were close to the Weinsteins, and of course the rabbis were in the building at the time. And I talked to Barry about it later, shortly afterwards, and he was telling me they were, of course, you know the story, they were all huddled downstairs, and the tornado came through, blew out the windows and all that. And he was saying when they came out, the Omaha police, before they even got out of the building, the Omaha police, at least one, a cruiser, was driving over all this debris, broken glass, bricks, everything, driving up the driveway to determine the status of everybody. And they came out of the building, and Barry looked, and they had recently bought a brand new Volvo car. And he looked over at the parking lot, and his Volvo was like 50 feet from where he parked it. It was upside down, completely wrecked, demolished. And I remember him telling me at the time, he says, it left me totally cold. I didn't care about the car at all. It was like, it was meaningless. I was just concerned that everybody got out of that building okay, and everybody, I guess, got out without nothing but a few scratches and whatever. So that was a crazy period of time. And then, of course, we had services for quite a while, actually, in the Jewish Community Center, because we had a synagogue.
Okay, so the first person in our family to meet Rabbi Asriel was our oldest daughter, Stephanie. Jimmy Farber was heading up the search committee, along with Phyllis Glazer, and I think Jane was on it. And anyway, so Stephanie was approached as a member of the youth group to participate in the search, and it had never been done before. They never sought the council, they had had a search for quite a while, but at any rate, they felt that the youth needed to be represented on this committee, search committee. So I remember taking Stephanie aside and explaining to her, the process that she needs to honor it, she needs to understand the confidentiality of what she's about to do and how serious it is, and to understand all of that. Well, it was a tremendous experience for her, and she took my advice well, because she never shared a word of anything. Except toward the end, she said that she was having a bit of a problem keeping attractive to the candidates. So she says, but I have one in mind that I think I can remember. And I said, well, tell me. And she says, well, his name is Azrael from Israel. So that's how you got remembered. Another quick story about another bat mitzvah story. It was well into my 15th year being Jewish, and you feel some mastery after a while. You think, well, come along in a little ways, but you don't know. You don't know what you like. You don't know how you play with your kids and so forth. But Stephanie was finally prepared and did well in her bat mitzvah. Sarah did spectacular. But in Sarah's quote, in her remarks, thanking us and thanking her parents and so forth, and welcoming everybody, she says, and I want to thank my mom especially for being such a wonderful chauffeur. Now, of course, she meant to say her chauffeur. But, she has that right. Because maybe I was the chauffeur for her all these years, and I had done a better job than I even imagined I could have. So that was a very sweet moment, and she is a very strong moment. So, anyway.
You cut us off a little bit here. This is sort of related to Cass Street. It isn't exactly Cass Street, but in 1997, Angie and I went on a mission trip to Israel. And we had the privilege of being accompanied by Rabbi and Elise, and it was a wonderful trip. We had a terrific time. And Angie and I were staying a week after that, and we stayed on a bus for a week, and Rabbi was staying some additional time to see his family and so forth. So when we headed out of Jerusalem, we drove together, I forget, a van or something. We drove down to Tel Aviv, and we had the privilege of meeting your parents in their tiny apartment. Are they still living in the same place?
Absolutely.
And now leap forward a couple of, maybe I don't know, it was the next forum or after, whenever. It was a forum, and there was some contest that if somebody did something, I can't remember the details, Rabbi would shave his beard. And so there it was, and the events transpired, and
It was a fundraiser for this.
it was a fundraiser, whatever, and forget the details. And so the rabbi said, okay, so in public, in the social hall, sitting in a chair with everybody watching, the rabbi shaved his beard off. Now, having met his parents, and specifically met his father, as soon as his beard was off, I looked at him and I said to him, I says, you look like your father. That was a nice surprise.
Well, we thank you for your forbearance, and it's been a wonderful journey. We look forward to our new journeys at the new location. And Shabbat Shalom.